Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast. Today's podcast is sponsored by Pavilion Payments, which empowers gaming institutions to create an enhanced patron experience with a complete suite of integrated payment solutions that enable safe, secure, and trusted cash access at the cage, on the casino floor, or online. Learn more at pavilionpayments.com. I'm Roger Gross, the publisher of GGB. This week we sit down with Anika Howard, the president and CEO of Wondr Nation, the online gaming division of Foxwoods owner, the Mashantucket Pequot tribe, about how her company is helping other tribes get online. Wondr Nation is the formal company organized by the Mashantucket Pequot tribe, the owners of Foxwoods Casino Resort in Connecticut. The tribe was one of the first to get into online gaming with a social casino, but now has the full complement of gaming, social, online sports betting, and casino, both in partnership with DraftKings. When creating Wondr Nation, the tribe turned to veteran casino executive Anika Howard, who has worked for Foxwoods, Caesars Entertainment, and IGT. She has developed a very dynamic and diverse company that not only runs all of the Foxwoods online products, but also contracts with other tribes to develop their online presence. She spoke with me in the Portrait Gallery of the Mashantucket Pequot Museum and Research Center in Connecticut in July. Anika, it's great to see you here. We've known each other for quite some time, and you've had a kind of meteoric rise through the industry. It's really nice to see that.
No, thank you, and it's good to actually be doing this in person.
Yes, I'm glad
so
we can do
many things
that.
we do remote.
Absolutely.
But it's always nice
Yeah,
to
always
get
great
face to face.
especially here in the Mashantucket Pequot Museum in the photo gallery. It's really a great museum, and again another indication of how gaming has helped the tribe and the community.
No, absolutely. This is one of the Mashantucket Pequot Museum and Research Center. It's actually, I believe, it's the largest museum of artifacts of Native Americans in the world.
Yeah,
and
great. Yeah.
A lot of the work on display at the Smithsonian and the museum in Washington, D.C., you'll see that some of that is on loan from here.
Yeah,
so
I've been to both of them, and that one's a wonderful one too, for
amazing.
sure. Yeah.
Yep.
So congratulations on the success of Wondr Nation. I mean, it's been the culmination of a lot of online strategy by the tribe. And explain how Wondr Nation was formulated and how its goals were set.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think the genesis of Wondr Nation started during COVID. Many companies and many tribes started to need to reevaluate just where their revenues were coming from and how to diversify. And during that time, we started thinking about, should we expand and should online gaming and sports betting become legalized in the state of Connecticut? What are the things that we wanted to do? And so we started there with the assumption that, positive thinking that was going to happen, but then wanted to be able to have a broader view. And so with the combination of working with the tribal leadership and really just kind of leaning on me to hone in on a vision, we really wanted to expand beyond just gaming. And so when we talk about Wondr Nation, I like to say that it expands and it focuses on anything beyond the physical experience. So when you think about the museum and this beautiful hall that we're in terms of the portrait gallery, imagine like what are the experiences from a interactive or augmented reality space that you can overlay to enrich those experiences. So it's really looking at how do you reimagine gaming, how do you reimagine technology and use it as an enabler to really extend the experience for players and guests.
So this is not just limited to the Mashantucket Pequot tribe. It's all across the industry, not just tribal but also commercial. So what are some of the services that Wondr Nation offers?
No, absolutely. And so it's one of those things that have evolved. And so when we look at the professional services arm, it stands between, a lot of it is strategy. So focusing on like how do you help hone on what is the strategic, how do you build out the strategic vision for creating an integrated plan. So we lean into that. A lot of the work that we've started with is with social gaming and social casino, simply because we're doing that for Foxwoods and in my previous life running casinos and running marketing for Foxwoods. That was one of the things that were in my edict. But it's social gaming, go-to-market strategy for real money gaming. So for example, if you're trying to decide how to how to go to the market. Do I want to market access? Do I want to kind of do a partner?
Right.
We can go through that strategic visioning and take you and help you along that process.
Okay.
If you're thinking about, how do I integrate from an interactive perspective? Do I do social? Do I do on-premise gaming? What are the things too? We can work in very definitively do that as well. Or if it's, or kind of, I think finally, and anything in between. So if you're saying, I want to do audit of my current operations or kind of marketing acquisition, what are the things that we can do?
Sure.
So the idea is really how do we, primarily focusing on tribes and tribal nation folks first, help to evolve the industry with this technology first mentality.
Right. Okay, great. So you mentioned the social casino. I mean, Foxwoods has been in that business for a long time. I think probably one of the first tribes to get into that business. So how did that strategy evolve over the years?
Well, so I think initially the premise for social gaming was that it was going to be the foundational piece that would be get you ready for real money gaming, and then you flip a switch and automatically now you're real money gaming. And so we know that as online gaming has become legalized, is not necessarily the case. And so I think initially, and it still very much is a proving ground for expanding your player experience when they leave your casino. I think what we're finding now, it's kind of evolved into like, how do you integrate this? How is this becoming a integral part of how you communicate with your players? So, is it tied into your loyalty program? Is it a way that you can extend some of the non-gaming offerings that you're providing? Or is it a way for you to kind of share some of the different experiences that you have and cross-promote? And but I think also, is it an opportunity to reactivate players? So are there players in your database that are inactive, that are not necessarily interested in online gaming? Is this something in your portfolio that now you have an audience that maybe not be interested in some of the other things, but this is a way that you can create a relationship with them?
So have you been seeing, been able to migrate social casino players to first the real money casino and then also the land-based casino? So
it's interesting. I don't see, and I think this is probably unpopular opinion, so we'll see. I don't necessarily see social casino players as this great kind of database of players that are then going to migrate to online. What we kind of find is that you do, with everything, you have a subset of players that are your super users that just like the experience and like your brand, and they're going to, whatever you give, they're going to consume. So they're going to play social, they're going to play real money, they're going to play land-based. But what we find is that players very quickly, you can delineate what their preference is. And so people have preferences. And what we find is that social casino players that have a preference for social casino, it's not necessarily about the same thing that motivates someone to play real money. It's about the community, it's about the quest, it's about some of the other social aspects of the game. And so I find that we have a core set of players that are ironically mostly land-based players that have either migrated to social or have decided that maybe they kind of don't want to come to the casino anymore, and this is another option for them to play. There's a small crossover to real money, but not as big as I think we anticipated it to be.
So that the debate whether iGaming has made land-based casinos suffer in terms of revenue, that's been revived recently. But I don't know, is that the case here at Foxwoods? Because there's so much going on at the property itself.
I mean, so I think it's mixed. I think when you look at just kind of online gaming and land-based gaming, it's not just direct correlation that now you have online, so people are shifting. I always say that online fundamentally expands the market. So when you look at the revenues that are generating, especially in New Jersey and some of the other places, it definitely expanded the overall market. Is it giving players a choice? And some people are choosing online over land-based? Yes. But My, once again, maybe unpopular opinion is that you're going to lose those players anyway.
Yeah.
You're going to lose them anyway. What we found with COVID is that people have different preferences. Sometimes you see that after COVID, people are just hesitant to be in kind of the same environment. You also have other competitive forces, and so people are choosing to do things other than gaming.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that are causing kind of shifts in behavior that are changing the dynamics of land-based.
Okay.
Some of it is
Yeah.
is online, but
Yeah.
not, I think, at something that is detrimental.
Yeah, yeah, okay, great. So have you built social casinos for any clients?
We're in the process of doing some of those too,
Okay.
and so, like I said, I think from social casinos, there are a couple of services that we do offer.
Right.
So we offer audit to say like,
Sure.
are you happy with your current providers and services? Is there ways to optimize your experience more beyond? You can do that, and then also kind of let's help bring you on board and
Sure,
go into
sure.
market.
Okay,
And so
great,
both
great.
of those are I think very good options to consider.
Great.
So shameless plug. Hollis.
Yeah, of course, right. So online gaming and online sports betting have been legal in Connecticut for over a year now.
Yeah, it's back into 2021.
Right.
Yeah,
So what kind of impact has that had?
I mean, it's had a significant impact. I mean, as you know, we've partnered with DraftKings
Sure.
and decided to do
Right.
kind of a market access agreement, and they have been solid partners for us
Right.
in the market. We see a number of benefits, and so I think a lot of times you think about, okay, the database that the customer or kind of the operator brings in terms of
Right.
like the Foxwoods Rewards database, but I mean, DraftKings also brought a database of their players,
Sure,
and so
right.
it was an opportunity to introduce an audience that was not necessarily our core, kind of the younger demographic
Right.
that is represented in the DraftKings database,
Sure.
and introduce them to Foxwoods.
Okay.
So that has been kind of positive. And I mean, I think it's a learning experience because once again, we wanted to be able to offer online sports betting and online gaming,
Right.
and kind of we're doing that. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
So Foxwoods has a separate online casino. Is that,
So all of it, all of it is through DraftKings, and so
Okay.
we have a co-branded skin for online casino with DraftKings.
okay, so if they hit the casino option on the DraftKings website, it'll go to a Foxwood casino, or is it still a DraftKings casino?
It's still a DraftKings casino. It's
Yeah.
co-branded. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's co-branded, and yeah.
Okay, great,
So
great.
it's good.
So I was over in the property today, and I saw the sports book, and it looks fantastic.
Yes, it's beautiful.
I guess on Sundays in football season, that's pretty packed.
Yes, and I think I mean, I love the sports book and kind of how it was designed, and I think Jason Guyot and the team do an amazing job kind of operating
Right.
that space. And one of the things I like to point out is that it was really designed, if you've kind of been in there, to be a configurable kind of open space.
Right.
And so it could be a bar, it could be a sports bar, you can do events there.
Yeah.
We did our kind of launch press event
Sure,
there.
right, yeah.
And so one of the things that we're seeing, especially with sports, is that it's not going to be kind of, all day, all the time,
Right.
kind of super packed,
Right.
but like how do you optimize and monetize the space in the in-between times? And
Okay,
so
great.
being able to do that.
So live table games have become a big trend also
Yeah.
in online gaming. Have you seen that area in the area of the casino growing recently?
So yes, and so we kind of have live tables on property, and so if you go, actually that whole DraftKings area
Yeah.
is optimized, and so
Okay.
you have the live dealer kind of place there, and
Right.
kind of the I think it's called Play Arena, and so
Right.
you get DJs and have the whole type of things. And in contrast, we also have live dealer online too,
Right.
and that is a popular option
Yeah,
for players as
no
well.
question, yeah.
Yeah.
So player engagement is always the key to success in any online casino or sports book. How does Wondr Nation make that happen?
I mean, so a number of things too. We have the managed services agreement with the Foxwoods team, and so in many cases, and you'll see this, Mohegan, you see this with most, like how do you activate at events? How do you kind of get players out? How do you create opportunities for players to come in on property?
Right.
If they choose,
Yeah,
because
sure.
once again, channel preference,
Right.
and kind of excitement, but also really it's just like, what are the touch points? So SMS, kind of player acquisition programs,
Right.
emails, just making sure that, I like to say, play your way. So being very, very direct in communicating that we are here for you and we want to give you all the different opportunities to play whichever way that you want to. You can play online, you can play at kiosk, you could play in the physical casino, you can play on your mobile device. Like, what are the things, how do you want to engage with us, and making sure that players understand that they have the choice and they have the power to engage us in multiple ways.
So your Fox with the rewards program, does that go across all channels?
I mean, so there are some things that are kind of split. So when you have the option to opt into Fox with rewards, even as a DraftKings player. And so as long as that process is complete, there are some things that that as a DraftKings player logs into Foxwood, you can have access to. You can still be a Fox with rewards player. The social casino is much more integrated into the Foxwood rewards experience. The DraftKings and online gaming pieces of it is much more passive. The social piece is very integrated.
Right. Okay, I see what you mean. So you built a very diverse company.
Yes.
I was going through the executives, and most of them are women, frankly, and a lot of minorities as well. Does that make you proud to be able to offer those opportunities to women and minorities?
Absolutely. So one of the things that is just kind of core to me as a person and being is that I do believe that kind of diversity and on a number of levels just makes an organization stronger. And so when I look at the team, I see all shades and colors, but I also see diversity of thought and ideas. And so we have people that come in from credit card companies. We have people that come in from agency. We have people that have really deep casino experience, and you bring all that together. And I think we're unstoppable because you have such a kind of dearth of information and ideas that you pull from. And so sometimes it makes it challenging when we're trying to get to it, but that's the fun part because we know that what we develop together is much stronger and much richer than what we could have done if we all just kind of got in a room and we all thought the same way and decided to agree.
Sure, no question about it. So the Wondr Nation just contributed $250,000 to the University of Connecticut's research department to look into responsible gaming. Why did you do that?
I mean, for a number of things. I think organizations have an obligation. We have an obligation to create a safe environment for people to play. And I am very, very much focused on prevention. And that's a core tenet for Wondr Nation, that as we expand, as we add products to the market, we want to do so very responsibly, and we want to encourage sustainable play. We want to give players the knowledge of, here are the things that you can do to stay out of trouble. We want to be able to research opportunities that allow us to put a blanket around players during the process to help steer them in a way that will ensure that they continue to play responsibly. And I think that's something that is beneficial across the board, because we don't want to have a situation where we're creating an unsafe environment for people to play, and that hurts everyone. We're seeing it in other jurisdictions where it's not regulated and it's not taken as seriously, that at some point someone's going to make you do it, and so it's just the right thing to do.
Sure. It's supposedly online gaming should be able to find problem gamblers much easier because it's the information is so transparent. Every bet they make, all the deposits and things like that. Do you think online gaming has really been able to do that so far?
So I think there are a lot of organizations that are starting to do a better job in it. I think, once again, a lot of these things were passive, where we kind of said, okay, we're giving you the tools. You can set your limits, you can put cooling down periods, you can self-exclude, so there you go. And but I think now people are starting, especially with AI, that you can understand, you can very clearly see if someone's out of their current pattern. And so I think what we haven't kind of caught it up with is like, how do you use the technology? How do you take privacy into consideration so that you can do something that doesn't feel big brothery, but still.
But nonetheless, I mean, there have been, a few reports recently of anecdotal evidence of kind of aggressive marketing by online gaming companies, and I mean, should the responsible gaming executive in that company be able to say, "Whoa, we're going too far on that"?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to have a code of conduct and code of commitment around responsible gaming and certain things that you, as a company, decide that you won't do. So you have to put some of those parameters in place. You have to hold your partners accountable to those parameters as well.
Okay, yeah, no question about that. So the spread of legal iGaming hasn't really gone as fast, certainly not as fast as sports betting. It's actually kind of slowed to a crawl here, and people are wondering why, especially when the politicians are always looking for tax money, and that's even more tax money than sports betting. What's your opinion on why that hasn't happened as quickly as we hope?
I think, I've thought about this a while. I think, sports betting is an easier sell because it's a little bit flashier and you can explain it. I think there's still a lot of concern around iGaming, especially. I mean, we have land-based operators who are still feeling like that is going to be detrimental. And I think also in a lot of the jurisdictions, as tribal entities, it's a little bit challenging because in order to really take full advantage of that, you still have to open up the compacts. And as you saw what happened in California, you see other markets, a lot of times kind of that dynamic can be challenging. So I think there are a lot of regulatory hurdles, specifically around iGaming.
That's all we have for the video portion of this interview with Anika Howard. To hear the full audio version of the interview, click on the link. Thanks for joining us on the GGB podcast, sponsored by Pavilion Payments, the industry's leading cashless payment provider. To learn more about the topics discussed today and all the important issues in gaming, check out Global Gaming Business Magazine. For a free virtual copy of the magazine, subscribe at ggbmagazine.com. To stay current with the weekly news of the gaming industry, subscribe to ggbnews.com. Use the coupon code GGB180 for a free subscription. Don't miss a single episode of the GGB podcast. Subscribe on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts today. So we'll see you next time on the GGB podcast.